Hi, everybody. I am so excited for the guest that we have today. When I heard Dr. Pablo Paredes speak, I felt like we were just so on the same page because we're into all of the same things. And so, with you being interested in transformative technology, when you hear the research that he's working on and his point of view for the way that he looks at behavior change and helping people have happier and healthy versions of their lives and themselves. Like, this is a talk that you are not going to want to miss
Mm.
watching. So, with no further ado, Dr. Paradis, will you tell people about your background and how you became interested in what you're doing?
Sure. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, well, my background is, let's say, traditionally described as an engineer, and then I done a lot of product development, product design. But I'm actually kind of a weird PhD, scientist because I work in industry for many years. And in the meantime, I also had to deal with a family member who suffers from OCD, and were decades of struggle. And I realized that there's just not enough support for these type of people, and much less on the technology side. So I abandoned 10-year career to become a scientist, and now I'm almost 10 years down the road after deciding this, making this crazy leap from a rising in strategic management career to trying to understand very well what it means to be stressed, what it means to have mental health and behavioral issues. And I'm pretty happy. It was quite a change. And right now I could say that I have pretty good understanding of the science behind what's needed to make some important changes, but also I have the sensitivity of understanding that there's also the need for like business solutions to carry on all the research that my colleagues and I are working on the field of behavior change and mental health.
Well, one of the things that you talk about that I just love is this concept of in the wild. I'm a
Mhm.
very practical person, and when you said that, it just really resonated with me. Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about in the wild and what that means in terms of building products that help people be healthier?
Well, first and foremost, there's where people live. People live outside of a lab. They don't live in labs. And even though I'm a scientist, I'm pushing very hard to try to get out of a lab. I think 95% of the research plus, of scientific research done in labs, and that's great because it helps us control many variables. But we haven't been able to be in the wild. For me, in the wild means understanding the actual context, understanding what's going on with people's lives, and also understanding the transformations that are happening. You look at our bodies; we have these long arms and long legs. We're roamers, we're hangers, we're like people that like to creatures that like to move, and now the wild, which used to be a beautiful open space with like trees and things, now the wild for us is a chair, a desk, and a display. As a matter of fact, it's already been studied that humans spend 87% of their lives indoors or in some kind of like
Wow.
vehicle or something. So the new wild is pretty not so wild, and I'm very interested in trying to do two things. First, to understand it and make it more in tune to like our bodies and how to take advantage of them, and also to affect our minds and our brains. But also, I'm very interested in trying to push people more into like the level of movement that they should be having in order to have a more a better use of their bodies and their minds too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, when you first said that to me, the practicality of it, because, there's, this, I am I got into the video game industry initially because I wanted
Mhm.
to build the holodeck. Like, that was my thing. But now I find that I'm way more interested in augmented reality because I want to be where the people are at,
Mhm.
where their problems are, where people push up against the lives that they're living. And so this concept of in the wild that,
Mhm.
you've touched on a little bit, but bleeds and is integrated into all of your research and the demos and the prototypes that you're building, it just seems so relevant to me. So I just love it. And one of the other things that you've said that I love is where you talk about the focus on helping healthy people be healthy, because there's a lot of research and effort that goes into people who have very real and diagnosed challenges. And I think that's really important. But there's a whole bunch of people who aren't, who don't have a health opportunity quite yet. But they could avert that. And so when you talk about having healthy people be healthy, I love your thinking on that. If you could share that with everyone just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry for a moment it got frozen, but yeah, no, definitely the problem with medicine, modern medicine, is that it's really oriented towards disease, right? Whether it's curing disease or preventing disease, it's all around this understanding of some kind of malfunctioning of the body. So 99% of the efforts in businesses and also in funding are going to solve these maladies, and as you said, is an important task. Now the thing is that the most of the time before these maladies exist, we're actually just functioning normally, and we should be understanding what that means, what normal function means. We should be more precise about what it means to be healthy, and by healthy, I'm using the definition of the World Health Organization, which is not the absence of disease, but the maximization of our strengths and our well-being. So how do we understand that we know that you're operating at a normal level, at a baseline? And also not only monitoring and understanding that, but also if you see a deviation, intervene very early, right? Why do we have to wait, years and years to say that we know now we need to treat? For me, the saddest conclusion of a lot of new sensors and monitoring that's happening will be that we create all these fantastic tools to improve diagnostics, and it will be so sad to say that somebody walks into a doctor's office and the doctor says, "Yeah, I knew you were gonna be sick. 5 years ago, it was obvious that you were gonna be sick." That will be so sad. If we are able to do that, if we're able to predict with precision, then we should intervene with precision to keep people healthy. And we have to define that more carefully. Right now, we don't know exactly what that means. I think we have some understandings around like mindfulness and exercise. I don't think we have enough science around that, because the science of being healthy happens again in the wild. It doesn't happen in a doctor's office. So you have to measure in the wild. You have to intervene in the wild. That means that you have to intercept people where they are. If they are sitting, how do we help them? Use that situation to actually improve their health, maybe by breathing slower or by just standing up for a while. But we have to have science. We cannot just be thinking along the lines of like, oh, it will be very nice if people adhere to do things in the wild. That's not the case. I mean, we know that eating well is good. We know that moving well is good. We know that sleeping well is good. And why don't we do it? And I don't think it's in part because I don't think we have understood what it means to commit to do these things on a regular basis. And it's not just a medical problem, it's a cultural issue too, right? So we should discuss more carefully and more creatively how to keep people healthy in the wild for a long period.
I love that. Well, one of the things that we're so excited about having you speak at the conference and to talk about some of the research that you've done, and also some of the ways that you guys have productized things. Like my favorite story is one of the ones that you have about gentle nudging, and this philosophy about like gentle nudging. So if you could talk maybe a little bit about the chair. I love that. I love that story.
Yeah, so the reason we're looking at chairs is because, again, we're trying to find people where they are, and if you don't make, if you walk into any building, 80% of the people are sitting. So chairs are a major place for finding a modern human. Chairs and car seats. So we're very interested in modifying those. Like, can we actually create a chair that becomes slightly uncomfortable after, let's say, a few minutes, just slightly enough, such that you might actually like reaccommodate yourself. You might not even attribute it to the chair. You might actually just think that you just have to change posture. That's already better than not moving. Or maybe a chair that actually works in connection with, let's say, some other sensorial input, and it makes it very pleasurable to stand up. So we're actually investigating, can we, every time you stand up, the chair pushes you a little bit, so you feel like you're stronger than you are. And also maybe there is like a very nice scent that comes. So now standing up is pleasurable, because sitting up is very pleasurable, but standing up is not pleasurable. People don't like standing up, like, oh, pushing against gravity. So we've been working on that. We also been working on, can we use the chair to help you breathe slower? So we're working not only but also in car seats. While you're driving, can we get you to breathe slower by giving you a very gentle, let's call it massage in the back, which is in tune with your breathing rate, your normal breathing rate, and we help you lower it slowly, such that you can actually get the benefits of a reduction of breathing speed, not to the level of yoga or meditation, but enough to get a significant change in your heart rate variability, in your arousal. So chairs, for example, can be very subtle, and it can give you very simple cues to stand up or to move or to breathe. And we're designing the new type of interfaces and running the experiments to try to prove that this will have an effect in the long term. We're also working with desks that move up and down, robotic desks up and down that maybe not even ask you. That's another concept that we're pushing, is like we keep pushing always, in behavior change, with this huge desire to convince you, to persuade you. I'm also in favor of forcing you. And what I'm meaning is what if the chair goes up? What if the desk goes up without asking? Will people actually keep working? And so far we've seen, yeah, that's possible. So non-volitional interventions are interesting, and also we can push it to the limit where you might actually be intervened or help you reduce the stress without you even noticing. So we're actually exploring with subliminal signals in the chair and also in this place, where will alter your visual cortex or your motor cortex without you even perceiving it, but you are actually in a calmer state. So this is part of the challenge of my lab. How do we let you be? How do we keep you working and being more productive without really asking you to stop and think about your stress, but just do it organically?
Yeah, I love that, because because consent can come at the beginning of the process. Like consent
Sure.
can be at the beginning, where someone says, my stress, I'm really stressed, and I want to lower it. So they give consent at the beginning. They're clear about what's going to happen, but it doesn't require them to make micro decisions in the middle of their day, about it. So I could have just walked out of this meeting where my tension's through the roof, and I come in and my chair notices that I'm stressed and starts to, do whatever it is that I have previously agreed that I'm willing for it to do. Because a lot of, already. So because a lot of times when, if you read all the things that I've read about willpower and how that goes down over the day and that sort of thing, I think there's all sorts of subtle ways to do things. And I've always been, really, I love that Joey Ito quote where he says that, 100 years from now, technology should be indistinguishable from nature. And so I really believe in getting the technology into the background so that the humanity can be in the foreground, and supporting people so that they can, live and create the lives that they'd really like to do, and have all the benefits that come from lower levels of stress. And so I'm just a huge fan of your work. We are so excited to have you at the conference, and we're really excited for everyone to be able to hear in more detail about what you've learned. Also, your framework that you mentioned a little bit about the subtlety and the nuance, and all of those things. Every time you and I talk, I feel like a fangirl. You're like,
Well,
you're
let me
one of
tell
my
you.
rock stars. You're like Beyonce to me.
Uh, Thank you so much. I've learned a lot from you myself, and I've incorporated some of your ideas in the way that we're thinking also. And I wanted to, if there's time, I can tell what it is, but you tell me.
You know, these are little short interviews,
Yeah,
and just to let people know about what's going on with the conference. So
yeah.
let's save that sexy tidbit
Okay.
for them as a reason to everybody. The Transformative Technology Conference on November 9th and 10th. If you know, for every one of you who is into this, everyone that you want to talk to, meet with, connect, the community that is yours and believes in what you're doing will be there. So you should too. So
All
thank
right.
you, Paulo. It's so great to have you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nicole. A pleasure always.
Okay. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.